How's it going, people? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to the Fourever Arsenal podcast. Coming off the back of a 2-2 draw, surprisingly enough. We all predicted Arsenal wins. A lot of you in the comments predicted Arsenal wins. A lot of Arsenal fans I spoke to predicted Arsenal wins. This wasn't one that we wasn't meant to drop points in, but we have. It's 1 point at the Emirates against Fulham, and I'm back with the regulars as usual, Jordan, Lee, and James, to discuss it and take a look at the United game briefly towards the end, because it's a big one coming up before international break. But there's so much to talk about in the Fulham game that this one's going to be, heavily around this result, this performance, why we dropped the points, and what it could or might not mean for the rest of the season moving forward. Lads, 2-2. I mean, I don't even know who to start with today. Usually I start with Lee because he's at the game and I haven't heard much from him, or I'll start with Jordan because I hadn't spoken to him yet after the game, but I know how everyone's feeling. So
why don't you go first, Turkish? Why don't you kick off this week and just what are your thoughts on?
Yeah, actually, the concerns from the first two games, I think, came to the forefront in the third. I just think the first two games you could see that we wasn't quite fluid enough. We lacked in the transition. We wasn't creating enough chances. I think we created enough chances to win the first two games. And I think there was an element of control in the first two games. But I just can't get my head around the changes coming into this season and the lack of improvement. People can argue that there's more control, but I can also argue on the other hand that when you're conceding in the first 2 minutes and when you're conceding to a team that's down to 10 men, that's the opposite of being in control. It's quite out of control. Is it the end of the world? No. I want to get that in early. It's not the end of the world. Obviously, the City result was frustrating off the back of it too, because both of us went for the title last year. Both of us conceded in the last 10 minutes to get picked back, and Man City are the ones to pull out the win with a late goal. That is frustrating, but at the same time, I take some solace that Man City are not the same team it was last season. I still haven't seen them click. People will say it's still very early on in the season. The one thing that frustrates me a lot, and I said it in my fan cam, is that to win a title of City, and the proof is in the pudding when you look in the last 6 years, to win a title from City, Liverpool are the ones that have done it, and the way they've done it is they've hit the ground running and not looked back. They didn't look back till February, March, and by that time they was gone. That was the only way I've seen Man City lose a title with Pep Guardiola at the helm. Aside from the first season he was here, which you can understand why. No one's competed toe-to-toe with City. No one's caught up and won a league title. And I'm like I said, people, it's 3 games. There's a 2-point difference now. I'm not saying at this moment in time we are too far behind to catch Man City. We can. But my thing is, at home to Fulham in the first 3 games, I'd expect us to win, and I think we needed to win to set. I keep on talking about sending messages. Against Forest, that clean sheet upset me a lot because I wanted to send a message. Against Palace, I think we sent the right message. We won away from home, similar to the way we done last season. You look at our away record, the best in the league by some distance, with City and Fulham in second place, I believe. But then you look at our home record, and I don't even have the stats off the top of my head, but I've seen it recently. Maybe one of you will bring it up, but it's chalk and cheese. It wasn't that long ago people were saying Emirates Fortress, and you can see the atmosphere, how much that's changed. But you look at not necessarily the results, because in general the results have been positive too, but the amount of goals we've been conceding. From last season, we've been talking about it catching up to us. It caught up to us at the end of last season, and we haven't eradicated it going into this season yet. And again, people might say too early, but 2 out of the first 3 games at the Emirates against Forest and Fulham, and we concede 3 goals to those 2 teams, I think we've sent the wrong message. Now it's on us to change that. And if we go against United on the weekend and put them to the sword like we should, and you see this on paper, we should go in after finishing second last season. The amount of time Arteta's been here, the money we've spent and the team we've built, we should beat United convincingly this weekend. And maybe we forget this game, international break, you go in 10 points out of 12. at worst 2 points behind City. All right, it looks a lot better then, but there is something wrong right now with the first 11, in my opinion. There's something wrong. I'm not seeing enough to warrant the change we've made going into this season. It's a big risk. But I guess my first question is it tactical flexibility or is it managerial inexperience at the top level? Because as much as we've all praised Arteta last season to get us where he got us to and nearly over the line, maybe I'm old school, but changing too much from what I knew and saw last season just doesn't feel like the right thing or the right direction to be headed down. James, I see you nodding, so I'm going to bring you into the conversation now. But usually I don't start. Usually I just host and I kick off with something. But Jordan passed me the reins, and that's my thoughts.
So, okay, like our eyes, you got to call what you're seeing. The first 3 games we haven't looked as fluid, we haven't looked as good, even though a lot of the numbers suggest we've totally dominated these 3 games, and I think we have. But we don't look as fluid. Do I think we created enough chances to beat Fulham whilst also limiting them to the chances they needed to get something? Yeah, I still think we did, even though we didn't look our best. The one thing I have to say, though, everyone, and I saw a lot of the frustration towards Arteta, and I talked about it on Full Time as well. And I think that's absolutely right. Like, I think there is a frustration because the Emirates crowd, I think, was a bit disgruntled and a bit kind of tense and frustrated because, again, we were seeing Havertz start. We didn't really understand why he was meriting it. Again, Arsenal weren't really looking their fluid best. But I'll tell you what the biggest thing is. We just concede the worst goals ever all the time. And it doesn't, I'm not saying the tactical stuff doesn't matter. It does. It's coming from the guy who does tactical insight. Of course it matters because I think if we get that side right, we're able to turn that game around better and probably win it 3-1, 4-1, maybe, respond with some earlier goals in the first half or whatever. But once again, it's taken absolutely nothing for a team to score at home against us. And it is so beyond frustrating. Nottingham Forest just ran the length of the pitch and scored. Fulham, Saka passes back to no one, blind pass. Ramsdale's tripping up over himself as Pereira scuffs it into the corner. I watched it back, Turkish. I said on Full Time that I thought he meant it. I don't think he meant it. I think he tried to lob him. He just got it wrong. And then when we're a man up, we still managed to not pick up anyone on a corner and they sweep it home. We did the hard bit. We turned it around. Whatever Arteta got wrong tactically in the game, which I think he did, I think he actually made amends for it by making the right subs, doing them early, recognizing his error because he made a sub at half time. That is an admission of making an error and turning it around. And weirdly, I think that 25-minute period from like when Zinchenko came on up until when Fulham scored was probably the best 25 minutes of football we've played all season. And yet we threw it away. Did we do enough to win that game? Yeah, I think we did. We did more than enough. But these guys need to stop throwing the ball in the back of their own net. They need to stop. How often do City make these mistakes? Now, I know Kyle Walker backheeled it, yesterday and Sheffield get the equaliser. But actually, there's still a lot of work Sheffield United need to do. The guy picks it up, then he squares it, then he needs to win the tackle to make sure he keeps the ball alive. Then he needs to take a shot and it takes a deflection. There's still quite a lot that happened. I'm talking one thing goes wrong and bam, it's in the back of our net. And we do it so often. I almost, it's not even like bad team defending because I don't think we're conceding that many chances. I really don't. Like, what did Fulham do in the game? Credit to them, right? They had a low block. They defended well. They kept themselves in the game. I'm not trying to discredit them. But this wasn't like, it sounds so silly to say, but when we beat Everton 4-0 at home last season, I thought in that first half, they caused us a load of problems. In transition, we couldn't handle them. And we kind of got away with it. I'm not even seeing that so much. I'm just seeing idiotic mistakes. How is this the third time in a calendar year that we've gone 1-0 down in the first minute? You just cannot start games like this. It's so poor. So, yeah, there absolutely are questions tactically about Mikel Arteta and the way he set us up? Is he accommodating for Havertz? Why is he trying to flip things so much? You know, Partey at right back inverting isn't the same as Zinchenko at left back inverting. It's just not the same. So yeah, all these questions are there. But I mean, for God's sake, we stop making these really stupid basic errors. Until we do that, like we can talk about the other things, but ultimately the mistakes Arteta made don't matter. If Saka, maybe Rice on the corner, whoever's meant to pick up the man, Ramsdale, if they don't make these individual errors, we win that game comfortably.
Yeah. Before I move on, you concerned about the tactics, or do you think it's the normal evolution or the expected evolution?
No, look, he deserves criticism, Arteta, and I understand that he's trying to do something different, because next thing you know, maybe the team look a bit predictable and everyone knows what it's going to be. And I get we need to have a different element to our play. I understand that. But I haven't watched Arsenal in these 3 games and thought we look poor. I don't think we look rubbish. I don't think we look terrible. I think we're lacking a little bit of sharpness and cutting edge in the final third. We don't look quite like we did last year. But do I think we're conceding a whole heap of chances and looking a complete mess at the back? I don't think that either. I just think we make so many basic errors, and it's so frustrating. But the Forest game should have been a 3-0 win. Do you all agree that was worthy of a 3-0 win with the Rice chances as well? That should have been a 3-0 win. Palace, all right, the red card kind of skews that, but I thought we looked comfortable in that game. And then we did the hard work. We turned it around, 2-1 up against 10 men. Get a third, job done. This could have easily been, for our performances, 3-0, 2-0, 3-1. And then we're all pretty happy, even though we haven't looked our best. We're going, yeah, but fair enough. And I know that you can't do this whataboutery and what ifs and all that, but it's just the fine margins in football. And when you make errors like that, you're going to get punished. And it's not all about that. Arteta deserves blame, yes, but the errors are criminal, people.
No, they are, and that tends to be a running theme because go on, Lee. Before you come in, Lee,
I've got to pull up people here, like, what James just turned around and said. Oh, I can see what they're doing. He's got to try and change it a little bit. Change what? We've had one decent season in 4 or 5. So it's not like we've won 5 or 6 seasons. We've gone one decent season, which we didn't win anything with, but we need to change up because we might be stale and all that. Like, you know what I mean? Change it. Why change what's working? I enjoyed last season. I enjoyed watching us play. The only thing I didn't enjoy was at home chasing games left, right, and centre because we can't defend right. Oh, here we are again doing the same. I'll give you a little stat: 4 clean sheets in 21 home games with an average of over 70% of control of a game of football. That ain't good enough. See, but I'll tell you what we do. We change and put Partey in midfield out of the back. Who, by the way, I'm going to say this now. 3 midfield players were spoken about as the best holding midfield players last season. We had arguments about it. Casemiro, right? Yeah. Rodri and Partey. There weren't a mention of Declan Rice. Weren't mentioned in that 3. All of a sudden, Declan Rice comes in, and not having a go at Declan Rice here, Partey's had to be pushed away. £170 million spent on a midfield, right, in the summer, that looks 100 times worse than what he did last season. And you can't criticise Mikel. You cannot have a go at him because he's done this, or we've got to make excuses for him.
Who said you can't criticise Mikel?
Well, a lot of fans do, James. I had it all on Saturday. That's why I've got the ump. You come out of the thing and you can't criticise, making excuses for him. Like, I'm sorry, he got it wrong on Saturday. He got the team selection wrong. People turning around and going, well, he knows more than you, that's why he's manager and all that. Like, I look at that and go, yeah, so he does know more than me, so he should get it right then, shouldn't he? If he knows more than me, you know what I mean? And then I look at it and I just think, like, everybody is turning around and saying that this right back of Thomas Partey's not working. They said it before Crystal Palace. But as soon as a result goes wrong, it was always going to come back on him, and rightly so. And it has done. It doesn't work. You know, someone said, you've got to try this. Like, we tried it at Nottingham Forest last season. I was up there. We lost 1-0. It was a shambles of a game. So I'll tell you what, like, I won't try it in pre-season, and then when the season starts, I'll try it.
That's the weird
Now,
thing.
why is he trying it? And I'll keep going on to the thing, right? He is trying it, and this is where it comes in, to try and fit Kai Havertz into this team. And his performance have not been bad. But if Kai Havertz put in a performance like Fabio Vieira did when he came on, it's justifiable. It's not justifiable at the moment. And you're dead right what you said, James. He got him off. He made the mistake. And look how fluent we was when we went back to normality, right? And we thought the game was won. They had a sending off, you know. And I'll go on this one again. I've had arguments with it, Peter. It's Trossard's playing great. He's playing great. Great decision, that. Why was Eddie dropped? You know what I mean? Like, Eddie's worked really hard in the last few games, proved the point. Why? I just think he's just tinkering with his side, just making changes. And I'm going to say it now. Another one. Kivia, I think, is a decent player. Is he a better left back than Tierney? Would Tierney do a better job than what he done on Saturday? I'm pretty sure he would, because every time he got the ball, he didn't know what he was doing with it. Such Gabriel.
Yeah, Kivia wasn't great.
No, he wasn't. Defensively wise, he was okay.
He lost all his headers. But every header.
We did not win one header in the game, right? So how can you get control of a game of football when a team launches the ball in the air and you never win one header? Does Gabriel win those headers? I think he does. Why has he been left out of the team? Explanations need to be asked, or you can criticise the manager for certain decisions. Is it all his fault? No, it's not all his fault, because he turned it around. Players have to take a blame, right? But I'm telling you this now, right? Come Man United, and if we do beat Man United, Mikel, didn't he do well? No. It's all about the players now, because when we lose, it's all the players' fault. But when we win, it's Mikel's fault. I'm getting fed up with it. Like I'm desperate for Mikel for it to work for him, right? I'm desperate for it to work for him. But I'm not here to say, like, yeah, he's not to be criticised. I think in the last 3 games that he's done, he needs to be criticised. Saka, let's talk about Saka for the moment. The last 3 games, I think he ain't been that great. Why is that? And because he took Ben White away from the right back situation when they had a good partnership. Saliba and Gabriel, a good partnership. The left side's been smashed all open because we've lost Xhaka. We haven't put Zinchenko back in. I don't think Martinelli's been the same player. You know, all the partnerships that worked last year are not there now. Why? Why change things so much? Because we've got to not be stale. You know what I mean? Like, you know, a loaf of bread lasts longer than what we play at this moment in time. You know, it's one season of good football.
I'm sorry, because I know Jordan needs to come in, but there's a slight contradiction there, Lee, because you rattled off the stats about how poor we've been at home and how many chances we've been conceding. And then you're asking the question why he wants to change it up. Now, I'm not saying the solution's been right. No, you just explain why he's trying to mix it up.
I do think that, yes, I agree with that something needs to be changed in the back line, right? Yeah. And we could go on to that. You could say, right, change the goalkeeper, harsh, but change the goalkeeper. Change the centre half for a new centre half. Maybe go down that way. Maybe get in another midfield player or whatever. But Thomas Partey going to right back isn't the answer. No, that isn't going to make it even better. That's my problem, because you know what? We ain't got the control of midfield that we've had in the past, and we're still conceding goals. I agree something's got to change, and that may be a goalkeeping which is a bit harsh, or another central defender if they're going to bring in Mark Gay. Is it? I think there's a lot of talk about that, and Gabriel might go. Look, listen, I'll go into Jordan now. Jordan has always said about Gabriel, and I'll give him his credit for that. He's always said, that he needs an upgrade on that. Maybe he does, and that's where I'll leave it on to Jordan now.
Interesting thoughts. On Arteta, I think the word that you guys have used is criticised, and does he need to be criticised? Should he be criticised? I think the word is more questioned. I'm not going to criticise him for the selection he made on the weekend, but I think there are questions. Partey at right back, that's a question for me. You know, Kai Havertz in the midfield, that's a question. Even Gabriel, I mean, I've said, as you said there, Lee, I think Gabriel would be my third choice centre back. But on the face of it, last year he wasn't awful. He was one of our better defenders. There's a question there. Eddie Nketiah not starting the game when he's had a couple of good games. There's a question there. I'm not ready to criticise Mikel Arteta because I think we have to be a bit patient. The 3 games we've had so far have not been bad. Look at the first 2 games. For 65, 70 minutes, we dominated both those games. And the second game against Crystal Palace, we had 10 men, and I thought we defended that game we saw that game out, I thought, relatively comfortably. Yeah. So I think the word that Turkish and James used was fluid. Are we fluid at the moment? No, we're not. It's not clicking at the moment. But I don't think we're playing poorly. And again, as James says, if we come out of this first 4 games, 10 games from 12, yeah, it's not really ideal because you should be beating Fulham at home if you're going for a title, especially against 10 men and 2-1 up. But it's not the worst return either. So I'm not ready to pounce on Mikel Arteta just yet. Now, where I think Mikel Arteta's got to be very, very careful is that he's not falling into the trap of being too smart for his own good. We all question Pep Guardiola's record with Manchester City in the Champions League for like 3, 4, 5, 6 years. Is he overthinking things? Is he trying to be too smart? There's a sense that Arteta's doing the same thing here. Is he trying to be too smart for the sake of being smart? He needs to be very, very careful that he's banked the house on Havertz. Yeah, Havertz was a left field signing that none of us saw. It's a big investment, and he's put him straight into the team. I'm backing Mikel Arteta to get this right eventually. It's 3 games. I don't look at things out until 10 games in. I'm not really for Partey at right back, but I'm prepared to kind of be patient and wait and see why. I don't understand why he's doing it, Lee. I don't know why he's putting Partey at right back. Because actually, as you said, Partey is one of the best midfielders in the Premier League, and he had a decent year last year. But I'm not prepared to jump on him just yet because I'm trusting that he's got a plan. And without kind of going to trust the process, that's my new one, is I'm trusting the plan. And I'm believing that he's got a plan because he will know, Mikel Arteta will know that what he's doing could end up costing him his job. Let's be very, very clear. Bringing in Raya and unsettling potentially your number 1 goalkeeper is a risk. Playing your best central holding midfielder at right back is a risk. Throwing in a £65 million player who's had 3 poor years at Chelsea is a risk. These are all things that could come back to bite him badly. If we're not in a title race this season, he won't be fired, but he'll be under mad pressure. So my thinking is, if he's doing all these things, he must be doing it for a reason. He's not stupid. He's not dumb. So if he's doing these things, he must see things that we can't. So I'm not prepared to jump on him just yet. Not yet. I'm going to give him a little bit more time to try and see and work out why he's doing what he's doing. On the issue of goals conceded, what's the difference between me and Arsenal, Turkish, right now? What's the difference?
Between you and Arsenal? I didn't expect this question Monday morning, 8 a.m. What's
the difference?
I ain't done my homework. What's the difference between you and Arsenal? Where do I start?
I'll give you the answer. My sheets are clean. This morning, my sheets are very, very clean.
I don't know about that, Jordan.
It's been bank holiday weekend. What's going on?
I won't go into my love life.
Mrs. away, is she?
It's a fair point. It's a fair point. My point being, I'm a clean sheet freak, especially at home. And this issue of conceding goals, and they're cheap goals. James said these are cheap goals. This has to stop. 3 times this year, calendar year, we've letting goals in the first minute. It sends me, oh my God, my head's going to explode. The slight difference I would offer between the 2 goals last season and the goal on Saturday was that this was just an out-and-out individual error. Saka has made a shocking pass that's put us under pressure. The other 2 goals were the team wasn't ready. The other 2 goals were, I think, worse in a way because the whole team wasn't ready and we conceded after a minute. This one was just Saka having an absolute howler. So I'm a little bit more forgiving on this one in a weird way because it wasn't a team thing. So and also my final point would be that I'm a little bit adverse to link the performance with Mikel Arteta, because if Saka doesn't make that mistake, we don't go 1-0 down. Fulham aren't very, very good. I'd like to believe that we go 1-0 up, maybe 2-0 up at half time. We're in control. So there's individual errors there that I don't think you could put on Mikel Arteta. But just to round up, I'm not alleviating Mikel Arteta of being questioned, but I'm getting all these videos sent to me of fan cams over the weekend of everyone blasting Mikel Arteta. I think Lee, you were really hard on him as well. I'm not quite ready to lose my head on Mikel Arteta just yet, but he's got to make this plan work and work quite soon, because we are in the Manchester Cityfication of the Premier League, which is basically they make you be perfect, and the more points you drop, draws are like defeats. Right, draws are like defeats now. Do you know what I mean? So the fan base are losing their head because a draw is like a loss now. We can't afford too many of them. So I get why the fan base are concerned. I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet.
Do you know, Jordan? I never, I criticise Mikel on Saturday, but I'm not. That's all. It is criticism. What I get is like, and these are the questions that get thrown at. I criticise. Say if you criticise Arteta, people like in group chats say, well, who do you want then? And it's not about who you want as the next manager. You're just saying the manager's not doing well. Who's better than Mikel then? You know what I mean? I'm banging my head against the wall with some of these people. Like, you know what I mean? That's what the frustration for me gets in there. I'll throw something else at you guys. You know what I mean? That's not there this season that was there last season. And that's the coach, Steve Round. Not there. All of a sudden, he's left, gone to West Ham. West Ham have been transformed. You know what I mean? Like, maybe someone like him makes these suggestions. I'm going to play Thomas Partey at right back, and there's no one questioning there. Maybe he's surrounded himself with yes men. You know what I mean? Like, that's a great idea, Mikel. I'll go with that. Instead of someone going, hold on, Mikel, it didn't work at Forest. It's not really working now. We need to change this. I don't know, but some people do surround themselves with yes men, and sometimes you need to be questioned and not say mate, that do you think this is the right, or you're going down the right way here? Blah 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 blah.
But Lee, is the problem though Thomas Partey is playing at right back, or is the problem Thomas Partey is not in midfield? Because Thomas Partey at right back. He's not been bad at right back.
One of it, and I haven't been able to watch the game back, but what I'm just going on the eye here. People turn around, well, we didn't play right back, did he? He was playing right back most of that game, what I see of it, because the way we was forced to do it or whatever, he went into midfield a couple of times. And even with the Saka goal, you have to say, if you've got a proper right back there, Saka's pass could go to the right back. He hasn't got that right back option. I'm not sticking up for him because it's a mistake, but the fact is that he was shut down. There wasn't the right back to just knock it to or pop it off to. There wasn't one there because Thomas Partey at that moment in time had gone inside, and it cost us. And the other thing is, maybe he's using Thomas Partey, and I've tried to make excuses for Arteta as I always will, and try to stick up for him as well. It's because we haven't got Zinchenko in the team. Maybe that's why. Now he's fit, and look how much better he plays it. For that 20 minutes done, maybe that's why he's going it. But sometimes if you haven't got players playing, you have to find a different way of doing it. Don't try and there is a saying in it, if it's working, don't what's it?
If it's not broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Like, you know what I mean, and fix it, or whatever the saying is. Like, you know what I mean, it's early in the morning, but and I do tend to agree with that a little bit. Like, I was really, Robbie come up with a point, and he's going to me, trying to be clever, like, you know what I mean, saying, well, he tried Ben White at right back. You know what I mean? He fell into that a little bit because there was a couple of injuries and whatever, like, and somewhere I think he felt, well, I've got to get Saliba into the side now because he's that good. I've got to try and get Ben White somewhere else because I've spent 50 million on it. It worked. You know what I mean? Sometimes you can be lucky as a manager as well. You go
and stumble on things.
You stumble on things, and and I'll tell you what, you made a great point about Mikel. And like, this is what I do when I criticise or whatever. I have to say, I give him praise for it at half time. When he does come in, like the Trossard thing wasn't working, bosh, off he comes. He made a change. Listen, I'm going to tell you now, when Fabio Vieira's number come up, the people behind me and all that were moaning, oh, what's he doing on that? It was a masterstroke. Come on, you have to say that was fantastic bit of managing ball, whatever, because he's seen something there that nobody else in the crowd would have gone with, you know. And I'm with you on this Turkish. I know it's only early, but when that penalty was going in Saka, I said, this is our title here. If he scores this, and that's our pressure. I think that those 2 points are massive. Yeah, massive to us.
I'm not sure. I thought the title was on the line at that Saka pen.
I do think, you know, because of what Manchester City are, I don't think you can afford to drop too many points at home. I really do. I know that's a harsh thing to say, 3 games gone, but you know, are Arsenal going to win the title? I don't think they're going to get to the title. If they carry on playing like they are, with this the way it is at the moment, won't get top 4. There's better teams playing us at the moment, but it's only 3 games. But yeah, I you know, listen, we was on a run of how many games last season, and I was going, well, we ain't going to win it. We ain't going to win it. Certainly, if we're dropping points against Fulham at home this early, we're definitely not going to win it. So I don't know. I just think that you're up against a machine. You can't afford to have those sort of results. I will turn it around and spin it around. If we'd have beaten Fulham and we'd have beaten Nottingham Forest and drew at Crystal Palace, that's how sometimes I get into that mentality. Would it be that bad? Maybe not. So that's the sort of mentality I try and console myself with.
Yeah, I mean, I think the most frustrating part, because everyone's had their bit to say now, and I want to kind of work our way towards another point on the same game and maybe the first 3 games of the season. But I think the most frustrating thing is, like you mentioned, the no Ben White for Saka. We've all talked about the midfield change in 170 million spent. And then we talk about Martinelli's side, and he hasn't had Zinchenko or Xhaka, who he's been used to. So all forms of our transition have changed. And for me, the most frustrating thing is the amount of change that 1 or 2 tweaks have made to the overall side. And on my fan cam, it wasn't really tongue in cheek. I don't know what you call it, but I said I miss Xhaka. And then you get a lot of people in the comments, you get a lot of people on social media taking it literally. They literally think that I want Xhaka back starting week in, week out for Arsenal. No. It's more a damning verdict of the upgrade we've brought in his place. And I've wanted an upgrade for Xhaka for years. But last season, he produced for us. In my opinion, the only season he produced for us. But boy, did he produce in one of our best seasons.
But that's the point, Turkish. So that's the point. It took him 6 years to produce. So I'm not saying we have to wait 6 years for Havertz to produce for Arsenal. But I'm just making the point that...
Well, that's...
Go on, sorry.
That's where I've mentioned this before, and I'm having to say it again. From where we was last season, 2 steps back to take 4 forward, in my opinion, is not good enough. From where we was last season, it's 2 steps forward, no steps backward. It's too much of a risk to be taking steps backward in the hope that you're taking more forward down the line, and that's what I think we're doing. It's too much change for one man. It's too much change to bring in for one man. And in 3 games against opposition that really we're going to face a lot better than in coming weeks and months ahead, not only has he failed to deliver something to give me or fans something to hold on, the team overall have been impacted. Saka, we've talked about Partey, we mentioned Saka. We haven't mentioned Martinelli, who hasn't been the same player this season either. We haven't mentioned even Declan Rice, who's come in, he's done well, but even I look at him and think, has our midfield been upgraded in the way we all thought it would have been? And I'm not putting this on Rice. What I'm saying is, I think Havertz has been detrimental to both Odegaard and Rice. I think the inclusion of Havertz has been detrimental to Saka and Partey. And I think when you look at last season, one thing cost us last season. One thing cost us that we can change. and that's the squad depth. We conceded a hell of a lot of goals last season, but off the top of my head, I think we conceded 16 of those goals in the last 9 games. We conceded 16 of those goals after Saliba and Tomiyasu went out injured. That's when we conceded a big chunk of the 40 plus goals we conceded last season. So for the majority, we was good, strong defensively, and we was quality in attack. Two injuries cause us to bring in a player that's not a modern day centre back. It has an effect on our transition, and we concede a hell of a lot of goals and score quite a few less over that time too, when you look at it in comparison to the rest of the season. What we needed was Timber. Timber comes in and gives you the inverted option from the right side. He gives you that Zinchenko on the right-hand side. But instead of Timber coming in and being that player, and, you know, he's out now for however many months he's out for, he comes in, he gets utilized in the left-back position, maybe because Zinchenko's injured, maybe the whole plan was for Timber to be the inverted right-back, and maybe Partey's on the bench now. Maybe that was the thought process going into this season. But it's just too much. Gabriel's come out the side. Partey's coming on the right back position. Yes, we saw it towards the end of last season, but all forms of our transition have changed completely.
Yeah.
And that's the most frustrating thing for me. I don't recognize this team in comparison to last season yet.
So I think you were at the game, Lee. So yeah, it was just us two. So something I try not to speak too much on the Emirates crowd because I don't go that often, and I always kind of like I always think the bigger thing is on the pitch. But something interesting kind of happened with the crowd. I didn't think the crowd was bad. There was some criticism about whether the crowd was, you know, quiet or not, you know, whatever, doing whatever the crowd's job is to do, which I assume people are saying is to support. It felt a little disgruntled. It felt a little impatient as a crowd. The thing I'd say though is I think that is partly because there are everything we're saying here times that, you know, till you get to 60,000. Like I think there are a lot of people in that ground who are just sort of like, why Havertz? I'm not sure about this. And why Partey right there? So there's almost like okay, let's see, but I'm a bit apprehensive. That's just the feeling I think. And so then you concede in the first minute again, and everyone's thinking, oh my, you know, again, you've done this. And so I think there's a little bit of I'm going to be honest, slightly justified impatience. Like you've conceded in the first minute again, so you haven't learned from that. And now we're trying to understand why you're once again trying to accommodate for some players that aren't playing particularly well in certain positions. I think the thing that's frustrating for me, I'm going to defend the crowd a little bit here. I'm not going to say which player it was because everyone's going to think I'm having an attack on them. But there was a player or two, but there was one in particular that I saw doing a lot of like crowd lifting and let's go. And I kind of get it, but I actually thought the crowd were trying to get behind them. And yeah, maybe they need a little bit more, but I just thought, you know, the players weren't delivering. I thought the players were playing so poorly. It's like, yeah, you want a little bit more from the crowd, but you made a shocking error. And that's a couple of players. It's not just Saka. Saka was poor, but a couple of players had a big part to play in the error that led to that first goal, which was really disappointing. Now seeing Martinelli's end product, really poor in that game. Erdegaard not just making really poor decisions. Had some nice moments, don't get me wrong, but nowhere near his best. Saka, I don't think was anywhere near his best. Trossard was non-existent. Havertz was beyond non-existent in that game. And I was just watching it kind of very frustrated, thinking, you know, yes, we can talk tactically and all that. And I think Arteta's tactical errors have caused these players to struggle. I agree the dynamic with Martinez is not right, but there are just certain things that I think go beyond tactics. The players weren't at it for me. They didn't look at it. They were making so many errors.
I think you're right, James, and I think that one of the reasons is that because there's been so many changes, the players don't really know, you know, were tuned into what was going on last season.
Are we too
kind? I'm going to
though,
say this now. Havertz, I don't think has been bad in the last 2 games. He hasn't been. He had a poor game, and as soon as he had a bad game, everybody was on him. And listen, he made it doesn't help when he misplaced a pass very early, and the crowd went all groaning and everything like that. That ain't great, you know what I mean? But the frustration is that what Turkish. I totally agree with what Turkish said. Like nodding donkey when he's saying that. They're like, everything's changed to bring him in. Now, if he comes in and plays like Vieira did, no one would be moaning. You know what I mean? Like, now that is what Vieira done in that 20 minutes is what we want Havertz to do. That's what he's there to do. And he didn't do it. He hasn't done it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what was like a man possessed when he come on Vieira. I got to say, well, it was 20 minutes. I want to see more of that. You know what I mean? Because maybe he's the one to come into that role now and play it. Like, don't forget, I think he played it a couple of times last season. It didn't work and he was soon ousted. But, and people go, well, this as Jordan said, let's give it time for Partey at right back. Well, what I see of Vieira, like, that was sensational. Look, listen, it's a one-off, I know. But when you're changing a team around, and I will say it, and I'll continue to say it, why people go to me, why has he done all this for Havertz? Why is he doing it? Because he spent big money on him. Like, do you think he'd be turning and changing all the team around for Trossard, for other players? He hasn't done it. Why is he doing it for Havertz? Why?
I'm not sure, Lee, because I hear that kind of, and I'm not saying you're wrong, but I hear that kind of response often. So-and-so manager is picking so-and-so player because he spent big money on him. I don't know if that's necessarily true. I think he's picking him because he genuinely believes he's the right person to play in that position. I don't think he's picking him because, we spent a lot of money on him, I've got to get him in. I think Mikel Arteta is the sort of person that actually would happily bench a £65 million player if he thought it was best for the team.
He will do that on Sunday, then, mate.
Sorry?
He will do that on Sunday, then. Havertz play on Sunday.
If he thinks it's for the best for the team, he will. But I don't think it's because of his price. I just don't think managers think like that.
We'll disagree on that.
I think you're actually agreeing. I think what Lee's saying about the money spent on him indicates how much importance Arteta sees in Havertz for the team, which is what Jordan's saying. So they're hand in hand. I mean, the cost comes with the importance.
But I think if Havertz costs $7 million, I still think he plays these 3 games. Do you know what I mean? I don't think he's playing it because he thinks bloody hell, I spent a lot of money on him.
I'll tell you why.
I don't know about that.
Like, I reckon if he'd have paid up, and I'm not saying like 80 million for Mudryk would get more opportunities than Trossard today.
Vieira's the example. We paid 34 million for Vieira. He didn't slot straight in and take all this importance. And now I know Vieira had no or little to no experience, but Arteta's bought players in the past and bled them in slowly rather than bringing Havertz and straight in important member of the team. In fact, one of the focal points when you look at the amount of changes around him to fit him in.
But I think that's because he rates him, not because he cost 65 million. Now, whether he should rate him or not, we could discuss that. But I think he's put him straight in because he rates him. He thinks he's good for the team.
To pay 65 million for him, he must think something of him.
And should I just jump in on the Havertz thing quickly as well?
Let's not bash Havertz, by the way. It's not a bashing session on Havertz, is it?
No, but I'm also, I don't mind saying my piece because I think I've been very nice to him in the first 3 games.
Yeah.
And what I would say is, do you know what Vieira did more than anything? Right? It wasn't just that sublime assist for Eddie Nketiah. And by the way, it is sublime. I think that is an unbelievable cross. If De Bruyne does that, we're talking about it for weeks. It's an unreal cross.
Sensational.
And yet he wins the penalty, and but you know what he did? He got the ball, urgency. He looked like he was sprinting with it. He was pass, give it to me again, pass. Where can I go? Let me underlap. Okay, let me overlap. Let me give you something else. It was urgent. It was quick. Now, the mental gymnastic in me wants to say, well, Havertz's style is actually about off the ball runs and actually picking up positions and getting into the box. Apparently only Haaland got into the box more than him in the whole of last season. So maybe there's something in that. But I kind of don't care Do you know what I mean? Like, I kind of don't care when I see Vieira come on and say, give me the ball. Let me turn past two players. Let me dart in these little spaces. Let me attempt bicycle kicks in the 95th minute to win us the game. Let me put it on a plate for Eddie Nketiah from impossible angles. Now, I'm not expecting Havertz to pull out De Bruyne-esque passes. I just want to get the ball and have some urgency. And I tell you when Arteta decided he was coming off, it was when the ball was played into him and he had the whole pitch to turn and open up his body and run. And he tried to roll it back into Declan Rice. And you know what? That's not even the worst pass if Declan Rice is even in a position to get it. Because, you know, maybe you knock it off when he drives. But it's the fact that he just didn't. He tried to play it to someone because he didn't have the confidence to turn. That guy's not ready to be in our starting 11. And that, okay, it's not necessarily his fault. Remember what everyone's saying about Fabio Vieira? And actually, I think largely we all defended Fabio Vieira. A lot of people were saying things. And, oh, okay, fine. But he came on and made an impact. So Vieira is a lesson in patience to a degree, but I do worry about what final form Havertz is, because even last season, Vieira, whether it was in the FA Cup third round tie where he got a couple good assists and through balls here, a couple good moments in the Europa League, the goal against Brentford, we saw things from Fabio Vieira that made you go, okay, he's not playing that well, but he's a good striker of a football. He's got a really good final ball. We could kind of see that. Yeah, he's a bit weak on the ball. Maybe he looks a little bit shy and tentative, but you could kind of see he had real quality in his left foot. Yeah, I'm waiting to find out what final form Havertz could look like. And that's where I have my fears about him in this team. And come Man United, which we'll touch on in a sec, I need to see him revert to Rice in that Xhaka position, because to have one of the best midfields last season, second, in my opinion, to Gundogan, De Bruyne and Rodri, and tear that apart after one title challenge, that's where I am agreeing with what you're all saying. That is very, very strange to me, and I certainly don't see Havertz being the reason to do it.
Can I ask you guys just quickly, just to link to the United game, do you think Havertz starts or do you think he drops him?
No, he's going to drop him.
Okay. I reckon he'll start, and I'll tell you where he'll start. If he does start, he'll play up front.
Ooh.
With Jesus back, that would be a bold move, and
that would piss me off. that would annoy me.
This is the first time as well. Sorry, John. Sorry, Karen.
No, that was it.
No. This is the first time ever that I actively want Eddie Nketiah to start. And what I mean by that is, with previous good Eddie appearances, okay, forget the Jesus injury. We didn't have Trossard, of course. Eddie starts. But my point I'm saying is, I saw a level of performance from Eddie Nketiah when he came on in that second half, and to a degree we saw it against Palace, where I thought he's dragging us through this, you know. Like, he's the one backing into defenders, looking really strong against Diop, Adrabio when he came on, Bassi, you know, big, strong defenders. He was backing into them. He was rolling them. He was running the line. He was combining. He was twisting. He was turning. And then he scored a great goal. I really, really liked that Eddie performance. I thought one of his best for Arsenal. Maybe his best for Arsenal. Yeah, sorry, I'm leading on to you now, Turkish, to the point where I want him starting against Man United, because that was a great cameo. And I think better than what I'm not sure we're going to get from a slightly unmatched fit Jesus.
You don't want Trossard in it?
No, and look, I got that wrong. I got that massively wrong. But like Turkish responded very rightly to a super chat, you know, Trossard came in when Eddie probably didn't deserve to lose his place last season, and we went on a 7-match winning run and brought the best out of Martinelli and Saka again. So, you know, you just never know sometimes with these things. We're not privy to what's going on behind the scenes in training.
No, that's true.
We don't know about their mentality, their readiness, whatever. But something made Arteta pick Trossard.
Did you think it was a surprise? Like, when that team sheet came out, I never... You know, I thought Kivior were going at the left side and all that. But to leave Eddie out, I thought was a massive surprise. You know what I mean? A massive... I didn't see that one coming.
Yeah, but it was a surprise to bring him back in after dropping him for the Community Shield and Trossard being the best player in pre-season. So there've been a few like that actually then Arteta's got right. So, yeah.
I'd argue that what Eddie gave us against Fulham is exactly what I need or want from Eddie to give us moving forward, and that is, when called upon, especially off the bench, I guess, because when I look at last season, everyone mentions how well he done when he came in for Jesus and scored the 4 goals in the 5 games. But when you look at his appearances off the bench, there was no goals. So to see him come off the bench, have not only the goal but the impact he had, I gotta give him credit. And it's not only that game; it's the last 2 games because I think against Palace as well, he was integral. He was key to us winning the game, and he actually, helped create the best chances of the game. So the last 2 games Eddie's had, in my opinion, but he gets dropped. So, I was surprised about that. I didn't think Kivio comes in. I actually think I thought Zinchenko would come in. But I was surprised Eddie didn't come retain his spot. But he comes off the bench and he scores a goal.
We
So
just need 13
exactly
more
what I
from him
would have
now.
wanted. Say that again?
We just need 13 more from him now. To be fair.
Yeah, listen, if he gets 15, he gets 15. I'm all for it. Because that, we're high up the table. But
you can just every time Eddie scores, every game there, there's still
counting down.
Another one ticks off.
But I do think Jesus should start against United, because Jesus is the starting striker for us. I think he causes the most problems. So as much as Eddie has done well the last 2, what he done off the bench last game is what I want him to do moving forward. Be that wild card if necessary off the bench.
The only reason why, I'm kind of a James in that I think Eddie's earned the right to start in that game. The only reason I would argue for Jesus is because if you remember the game, funny enough, against Fulham last year, Jesus' return, he looked super sharp in that return game where I thought he would look quite groggy and a bit. It was his first game back. And he was uber. He didn't score, I don't think, but he was super sharp at Craven Cottage. So if he can come back and be that sharp that quickly again, there's an argument that he won't be rusty for the game on the weekend. But I'm leaning toward. I think Eddie's earned his chance. I think we've got to get behind Eddie. Jesus will miss a lot of games this year for me. I think we've got to get behind Eddie.
Can we go around and maybe have a quick fire round in regards to the Man United lineup? I just want yeses, nos, or one-word answers. Havertz to start the game against United. Jordan.
No.
No. Lee.
Do I think he will, or would I start him?
Yeah, that's the question.
Your personal opinion.
Right.
Should Havertz start this Sunday? Or this Saturday? It's Saturday, right? It's Saturday, 5:30.
Sunday, 4:30, I think.
4:30.
I think.
Yes.
Lee.
Personally, no. Do I think he will? Yes.
James?
No, I don't think he should, and I don't think he will.
Okay. Next question. Striker. Jordan.
Jesus. Nketiah.
Lee.
Jesus.
James.
This is really difficult.
You just made an argument for him starting about 2 minutes ago, James.
I think it's Nketiah, but it's like it is Eddie. It is Eddie for me. I don't know what Jesus is like right now. Like he came on against Fulham, and okay, didn't have very long, but it wasn't like he made a massive difference. He kind of did fine, didn't he?
Yeah.
Nketiah for me.
United's defense rhetoric is not great at the moment. So I think someone like Nketiah I think his liveliness and I think his form, I think will cause them problems more so than Jesus.
I wouldn't be upset if Eddie's playing, put it that way. If Eddie's playing and Jesus is not, I wouldn't be. But for me, Jesus is our main striker, and I think that's where Turkish you're coming from, isn't it?
Yeah, that's how I look at it. But I'm with you. If Eddie starts because of the last couple of games, I think I'd understand it. Next question. Thomas Partey, what position should he be playing on Sunday? Is it right back? Is it back to the 6, or will it be bench? Jordan?
For me, 6.
6. Lee.
Without a doubt.
6. James.
Yeah.
And
Probably
lastly,
be on the bench though.
Oh, I was gonna say lastly. I think from your answers, I expect all you to expect Zinchenko back in the side from your Partey answers. But Aaron Ramsdale or David Raya, because for that first goal against Fulham, we have mentioned Saka's part to play for that. But I look at Ramsdale and I ask myself, what in the world are you doing? what kind of footwork is that?
Do you two blame him as well for
I don't.
partly
I
for
actually
goal?
don't.
No.
I actually don't.
Now I look at him
Yeah.
and think, what?
He
People
saved us
around
the
me
point,
didn't
guys.
either at the
Saved us
game.
the point.
I
Save at
mean,
the end. Save at the end.
The save was great. That was a great save. I agree.
Yeah.
yeah. But he was so worried about the ball over his head that he just his body was in a state of confusion. He was. I haven't seen Alisson like that. I haven't seen Edison like that. I haven't seen top level keepers look so confused or look so like a fish out of water in a moment. Like, I mean, James said it in the last 9 games or this calendar year. It's actually the last 9 games at the Emirates. We've conceded in the first 90 seconds 3 times. 2 of those times center around Ramsdale. I think Saka's at fault for this one because of the loose pass and the fact that, you know, in the first 90 seconds you're giving them a 2-on-1, and it was a 2-on-1. But Ramsdale, firstly, he goes to the ball, then he runs away from it, thinking it's going to go over his head. It goes near post. His body's all over the gaff. Like it's just crazy. Like, bro, it's like if you don't rewatch his.
I will rewatch it because he's been blamed for that, and he's also been blamed for the corner as well. What I've been hearing.
Corner's harsh. Wow.
So,
Cannot blame for the corner
Yeah,
for me.
Zinchenko poor ball, but you can't blame him.
The corner's horrendous because Palhinha is able to swing a leg at it.
Yeah,
You know, with
it's an
no
awful
one
goal.
around him.
Awful goal.
I'm with Turkish. I think Ramsdale.
You know how he
like-
fell? You know when Messi turned Jerome Boateng in the champion? That's how he fell. His body was twisted like a pretzel, and he just the guy just there. And I'm thinking 90 seconds in.
I've got a bit of sympathy for him. I've got a bit. His footwork wasn't great, but that's all on Saka for me. I'm sorry.
So what are you going for? You two are going to go for Raya then?
No.
No. Big move for Man United, I think. But last legs, I mean, last chance saloon now. One more error, even if it doesn't lead to a goal, we could see Raya come in.
We have looked shambolic from set pieces in terms of defending them, in my opinion. I keep Ramsdale, Gabriel back in that team, Rice and Partey in midfield. Get your big men, start defending set pieces properly, please. We conceded a set piece to United last season as well. And go with some familiarity and players who know and understand each other. So Ramsdale keeps his place. I do, though, agree with Turkish. I think he looks really, really clumsy and rubbish on that goal. I just think even at that point, Pereira actually still has quite a lot of work to do. He takes it early, trying to lob him. He scuffs it. And Ramsdale just looks like he's ice skating for the first time, trying to sort of figure it just... And like maybe the fact he scuffs it is almost what throws him off. Like, almost if Pereira connects with it right, Ramsdale will probably deal with it. But he was like, the goal's going in this way and he's twisting the other way. And then it wasn't great. And it is mostly on Saka. It is. And I take Lee's point as well, that the players were kind of out of position as well. So that's the fact that there was even that space vacated is weird. But I don't think it's great from Ramsdale. But he saved us. It could have been a defeat, and he actually saved us a point, weirdly.
This is one for the comment section as well. A few quick fire questions there regarding the Man United game this coming weekend. Give us your thoughts as well. Jesus or Eddie, does Havertz retain his spot? Does Vieira potentially come in after his cameo? Because we've talked about Eddie's and how that could impact him potentially starting the game. Does Vieira deserve his chance now? Zinni back in, Partey right back 6. Will he be on the bench? Ramsdale, last chance saloon, or is it time for Raya? Comments, people, let us know right below and hit the like button. Are we on 1,000 likes yet? Hopefully we are, because we are 58.5 minutes in, and it's time to move on to predictions. And as always, let me bring up the table. My favorite part of the show. Let me bring up the table right here. Here it is. No change, no points. Everyone went with an Arsenal win. No one went.
Did you go for a clean sheet as well, Jordan?
I did, yeah.
I did.
So we all went for a clean sheet as well. That just shows how poor that was. 2 goals conceded.
Yeah, 100%. People that are listening on audio platforms, it is still Turkish at the top, 5 points. Jordan in second, 4 points. James and Lee tied with 2 points apiece. No correct scores. Now, before we make predictions, I just want to ask you 3 gentlemen, wise gentlemen. You know, I hold you to the highest regard. When we done the predictions for game week 1 and the fixtures, and I got Brentford Tottenham right, is that a correct score? Is that 3 points?
What did you predict?
I'm thinking it should be that, but I didn't put the 1 there for me yet.
What did you predict?
Oh, yeah. No, it's not a correct score, is it?
No, it is, because you got the home and away right.
Yeah.
You got home and away. So would you have got a point if it was Tottenham Brentford the other way around?
Yeah.
Then it's a correct score.
James is correct score. Lee?
I don't
Just remember that, when I end of the season.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. So if you'd have said it was Tottenham Brentford, it was that way around. You'd have got 1 point instead of 3. So so you actually did correct the actual outcome of it precisely. Yeah, why don't you give yourself 2? Yeah,
I don't mind. Jordan, 2.
Hang on. I'll be saying, because you got the fixture correct, should you get a point for it?
No, not a point. Look, the correct score column. Look at the correct score column. It's usually like this, but it should be like this, really.
Yeah, it should be. Yeah.
I agree.
I don't know about that.
Don't matter what he agrees. Don't matter what Jordan thinks now.
You're right.
Doesn't matter.
You're right.
Not being generous there, but cool. Whatever.
They are. I thought that was easier than I expected.
Well, we don't have to be so
I'm fair. I'm
James.
Fair.
I actually feel bad now.
I'm willing
giving you that point.
I'm willing. I'm willing to be flexible on the rules. I could have said technically that's not a score, but I understand the moral of the game and what we're trying to achieve, and I look at the bigger picture, and I'm willing to give you that. Just saying.
Thank you. Court of Arbitration of Sports. Head James Bayliss there. Predictions: Man United, Emirates Stadium, off the back of a 2-2 draw against Fulham and 3 goals conceded at the Emirates. 4 clean sheets in 21, I think it was, that Lee said. 3-1 Arsenal.
Oh, that's what I was going for.
3-1 Arsenal. That's what I'm going for, people. Jordan, you're up next.
I'm going 4-1.
4-1.
4-1 Arsenal.
I thought I was bold. 3-1, 4-1. James.
I'm toying between 2 very, very weird scores. I'm going to go 4-2. I think both teams have just been a bit... I could see this just being such a messy, chaotic match.
4-2.
Yeah.
Lee, everyone's gone for a high scoring game. 4 goals, 5 goals, 6 goals so far.
Yeah. I'm going 2-0. I think it's going to be not very good game. I think Arsenal win.
Well, I think there's every chance Arteta goes, guys, you'll get your chances. You'll get a goal. You scored in every game. Just my word, please keep it tight.
Yeah. They've got to keep a clean sheet at home sooner or later. They've got to.
Yeah, and this would be a big one right before international break against Man United. 10 points out of 12 international break. Things don't, look too bad then. But hopefully we do it. All right, that's the predictions, people. Just to round it up, I've gone for 3-1. Jordan's gone for 4-1. James has gone for 4-2. And Lee has gone for 2-0. As always, let us know your predictions in the comments section below. Let me get the table off the screen. And let's end with comments of the day if everyone has them ready.
I've got a lovely one if you don't mind me starting with that.
No, go ahead.
One I think you'll enjoy, Turkish. So it's from Rahan Ray. Says, bar Big Six, this is legit the best football panel. Yes, Jordan included.
Jesus.
But then he says, your chemistry is absolutely amazing. Always brings a smile to my face. This and the Big Six have helped me a lot in this difficult world. I think that's a very lovely
What's
comment.
his name, Rahun?
You're welcome.
Rahan Ray, yeah. Rahan Ray.
This guy said you're welcome. Hey, shut the hell up, Jordan, man. Be nice to the guy, man. The guy said we've helped him through tough times. You're saying you're welcome, hey, Jordan.
No, he's thanking us. I'm saying you're welcome. You know what I mean? We're here for you.
We might need you sooner than we think, mate, because this guy's lost it.
Try to be nice.
You know, a lot of people have said to me that kind of these kind of football communities online helped them a lot during the pandemic. And so anyone who kind of does ever need to reach out, do reach out. You know, I think I speak for all of us when I say our DMs are open on Instagram or whatever, or at us on Twitter or X, whatever it's called. But you know, I appreciate that the shows are, as well as being entertaining and all that, you know, people are sort of taking more out of them as well. So thank you for that comment. It really means a lot to us.
Yeah, crazy, man. I get a lot of those comments for Big Six as well. So I really, I appreciate them, but I'm glad to hear that it can help people through tough times and it can help people remain optimistic and head held high. And listen, you know, as much as tongue in cheek, you're welcome. If we can continue doing that for you, then
it wasn't tongue in cheek. I was being genuine.
I actually think he was being genuine.
Oh, yeah, was he? Yeah, but I don't know, when someone says like you've helped me through tough times and that, you don't just say you're welcome. You give some more emotion to it. The guy said you're welcome.
He hasn't got emotion.
You made him a cup of coffee or something.
He's a robot. He works for Channel 4. They're robots there, like.
Okay.
I can't win. What is going on?
Imagine I stop someone on the street and be like, listen, I can't lie, that podcast you do, it gets me through some of the toughest moments I've ever had to go through in life. And then the person turns around and says, you're welcome, mate.
No. But hang on, finish that sentence. The end of that sentence is thank you. So then you respond by saying, you're welcome.
Yeah, but give it. Cool. Cool. It's the Channel 4 and YouTube divide here, people.
It works.
Oh, jeez. Listen, I haven't got a comment, but I wanted to say happy birthday to Lee while I'm being nice.
You ruined my introduction to the happy. Now you seem like the nice guy. All right, let's do the happy birthdays now. Lee.
Sorry.
How old are you?
I've got one like from Anthony Griffin. I am an Arsenal fan since 1962, and yeah, the invincible. Please respect Lee Judge's age and wisdom. Being on Holloway Road near Highbury Stadium. Currently live in Barbados, West Indies. Forever Arsenal. I like it.
Come on. Living nice as well, Barbados. I could be. Listen.
Yeah, I've got
weather over here.
You're welcome.
No, I do have to say happy birthday, Lee.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's always fun doing the show. It's always good listening to someone who's watched years and years
and years
and years and years of Arsenal. And you know, you're brilliant, mate.
Thank you very much. I'll take that off of you, you little whippersnapper.
Whippersnapper. Listen, Ali, happy birthday though, because you know we've got you up. I say we, really.
No, I know you do. I know
it's actually more my fault.
I think it's changed today, like, you know, I won't be up early on my birthday. But listen, it means my birthday will be longer now, won't it? Like, you know, so that's how I look at it.
And you start your birthday looking at these faces in the morning.
Do you know what? I wouldn't have it anyway. Like to celebrate my birthday with you guys today is means a lot to me. Like. You're welcome. You're welcome now.
You're welcome.
You're welcome, Lee. You're welcome.
Come on, get with the program, guys, please.
We're gonna end with my one. My comment of the day comes from Laurent, and his one says, "Question: what was Turkish's reaction to Matt Turner leaving and David Raya signing?"
Wow.
Answer: glove. For the glove, people. I like that.
Very good. Very good. I like that one. That's clever.
Big up Lauren. Big up Rahun. Big up everyone that sent in their comments. Big up everyone that hit the like button. That was a nice way to end it. After what was a stressful show, to say the least. I think one of those ones. But we move. People, hope you're enjoying your bank holiday weekend. If you're here in the UK. If you're abroad, Barbados, for example, hope you're enjoying. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is, wherever you're watching from. This has been the Forever Arsenal podcast. We will be back next Monday after the United game to review that one. You've heard all of our predictions. Give us yours and hit the like button on the way out, people. Let's make sure we get over 1,000. Love for the love. We'll see you again soon. Peace.